Good morning, folks. My name is Jason Cadle with Microbiology International. Really appreciate everyone joining us today. We are going to go through our autoclave systems today. You can see the units here behind me. We will go in and do some practical portions of the demonstration. What we will also be doing is a PowerPoint, which we will transition into so we can cover some of the basics of our autoclaves and how they are different compared to the other systems that you may find on the market. During the demonstration, we also have one of my colleagues on the line as well. So please use the chat section in the bottom and type any questions that you may have during the demonstration. So go ahead and type those in, and we will have my colleague Samuel will be handling that, and then he will be able to ask me those questions at the end of the demonstration. Again, feel free to ask any questions that you may have into that chat. We will go into the presentation, we'll cover the presentation, and then after the presentation we'll go through and look at the different types of models that we offer and do a little bit more of a practical hands-on type of feel for the demonstration. So again, thank you for joining, and give us just a second as we transition over into the PowerPoint. Okay, again, Microbiology International, thank you folks for joining us. What Microbiology International is, we're a company that is roughly 25 years old. We were established in 1997 and have dedicated ourselves to bringing the finest capital equipment and consumables to the microbiology sector. We've developed a lot of strategic alliances with manufacturing partners, mostly in Europe. That one of those is Systec. So we have been working with Systec since the year 2000. We met these folks at ASM in the year 2000 and have been selling their autoclaves since that time. Systec has grown quite astronomically in that period of time, going from roughly 20-some employees when I first met them up to about 240 employees at this time. I have multiple manufacturing sites as well. One good part about our company having that history with Systec is that we have been able to develop our own service organization and work in alliance with Systec to make sure not only are we offering the finest autoclaves on the market, but the service after the sale as well. So Systec Autoclaves offer state-of-the-art autoclaves, and again, with many unique features and benefits that we'll be covering today. So in addition to our laboratory autoclaves, the rest of our product portfolio, we carry microaerobic workstations, hypoxia workstations, anaerobic chambers, automated colony counters, spiral plating devices, air samplers, automated media preparation equipment that also is manufactured by Systec, and sample preparation systems and incubators. So with the Systec portfolio, these are the general products that we offer. So we offer these different model types. So we have benchtop model series, which are called the D series. We have vertical floor standing units, which are called the V series. We have the HX series, which is our larger freestanding units. Then we also have a line of media prep systems and the media fill as well for automated media preparation. So for the different models that we have, the Systec D series, the benchtop units, we have 6 models that are available anywhere from 45 liters up to 200 liter chamber volume. So to give you an idea, if you have a freestanding autoclave that is at your facility that is from maybe an American manufacturer like AMSCO or Certified, what you're going to see in that is either probably a 110 liter or 250 liter autoclave. 250 liter autoclaves seem to be very popular as far as the size is concerned, if you're wondering what type of size that your system currently is. So again, in the D series all the way up to 200, we do offer support stands for these as well. So the only thing that changes it from a freestanding system is, in essence, it's on a bench. Then we have the Systec V series. There are 8 models of those from 40 liters up to 150 liters. These are really nice for any applications that you may have for waste sterilization, simply because you just load things right through the top, so you don't have to worry about a bag falling over or anything inside of the autoclave. So for particular waste applications, this V series units are quite nice. It's quite interesting, the 2 different model types, the D series and the V series. In the US, for the D series, we probably sell about 90% D series, only 10% V series. In Europe, it's completely opposite. So for some reason in Europe, they like the V series units, and they're probably 90% V series and 10% D series. But there are really no differences between the unit. It is just the orientation of the vessel. The HX systems are floor standing models. We offer 15 models of those, from all the way from a 65-liter unit, so not a very large system for that front loading freestanding unit, all the way up to a 1,580-liter system, so quite large at that point. A lot of those are used for manufacturing, with some of the other special applications that we can provide on our autoclaves. The last line of systems that we offer are the HX2D series. So these are pass-through systems that will allow us to build them for a pathogen laboratory or clean room. And we have 13 models of those, from 90 liter up to 1580. And so we'll go through a little bit of what that will look like after we finish our presentation as well. So we're going to show a short video here of that we have just recently completed. Hopefully your volume will work. So this is about 1 minute and 20 seconds. We'll just show you some of the concepts that we have for the Systec Autoclaves, and then we will move forward and transition into discussing more of these through the rest of the PowerPoint. So other things that we would like to do now, really appreciate you all watching the video with us there. We covered a lot of concepts in that very short video. So now with the rest of the PowerPoint presentation, we'll discuss the items that Systec Autoclaves do that are a bit different. One of the main things that we have is a separate steam generator that is located within the housing of the system. One quite nice part of that is that it doesn't require any further space that you would need inside of your laboratory. Quite often there is an autoclave that then has an option to have a steam generator. If you purchase the steam generator, that at that point it's another piece that you have inside of your autoclave or inside of your laboratory, not a complete cohesive system. We offer temperature and pressure range as standard up to 140 degrees C for bar. So for any prion sterilization, the system is standard to be able to do so. We can also optionally go up to 150 degrees C, which would equate to 5 bar of pressure. This would be more for materials testing and any other special applications that you might have, as far as steam air mixture, blister packs, those type of things. We offer cooling with support pressure for faster and safer cooling. What that allows us to do is run cooling coils inside of the system and then pressurize the vessel as well with sterile compressed air. That will allow us to cool down and completely keep all of your liquids intact. So no longer do you have to put 1 liter of media in a 2 liter bottle to get your media back. With our cooling system, we are able to put 1 liter into a 1 liter bottle, and you're going to have less than 3% liquid loss during that cycle. We use a very high grade of stainless steel for the vessels inside of the system. It's an AI SI 316 Ti, so there's a bit of titanium in there, pharma grade steel, and it's insulated with melamine foam. In addition to that insulation, quite often folks would be buying an autoclave where it says we have a vessel and a jacket, and the jacket has to be maintained all of the time. It's extremely inefficient. Then also what we're doing is keeping that jacket heated, so we're constantly running power to it, whether the instrument is being used or not. Additionally, that's twice the amount of steel that we're going to need to heat up and cool down each and every cycle. With the Systec Autoclaves being a cylindrical chamber versus a standard rectangular chamber that would have that jacket, we have better heating properties, we have less weight, so we don't have to worry as much, especially if you're ordering a larger type system. You don't have to look at infrastructure as much as you would for the flooring in order to hold the system. So we just have a much higher efficiency based upon the cylindrical chamber and its reduced utility cost, because that's going to save us in electricity by not keeping the jacket heated all the time. It's going to be less tap water to heat and to cool that vessel each and every cycle. So just in general, your entire operating cost is going to go down with this type of system. So we do offer a super dry and fractionated post vacuum for efficient drying. So we will dry everything inside of the unit completely at the end. Even if you were to put laboratory coats or something like that inside of the autoclave to be sterilized, we have a programmable drying time that would allow you to program and dry everything completely, especially for things like pipette tip boxes and other items that you don't want to have secondary contamination coming from by unloading a wet item from the autoclave and placing it on the bench. We offer air exhaust filtration for all effluent, so if you are putting this in a pathogen laboratory where you will need to filter that air when we pull a pre-vacuum on the instrument, that is an option for us as well. And then everything before it goes down the drain will run through that exhaust filtration. We do offer automatic door open and closing, which increases safety. We'll go through that when we go to the practical portion. We have LCD screens for them with customizable sterilization parameters and different access levels. For the HX series, where we have touchscreen controls, then we have completely programmable usernames and passcodes that can be very unique. So with the keypad systems, we don't offer as much in the way of being able to securely access that autoclave. But with all of the HX units, we have full 21 CFR compliance with the ability to program in different users, even isolate different user groups from other groups in case you have a shared autoclave. So all of that is capable as standard on the HX instrument. So again, internal heating elements versus a separate steam generator. So with the separate steam generator, we're going to be able to completely push steam through the entire instrument. So the steam inlet is from the top with the air release at the bottom. Air is actually heavier than steam. So if you're looking at the image on the right-hand side of the PowerPoint, what you would see with those heating coils in there, it does create steam from the water that you've poured into the unit, but it has very inefficient air release, because the only way the air is going to get out of the autoclave is if it were at the top. But the air is heavier than the steam, so it sets at the bottom, and there's no way to get it out of the bottom because there's water setting in the bottom. So it's impossible for us to be able to actually fill that full of steam. So the area where your bottles are setting inside of that autoclave right now are setting in a nice little air pocket with steam above it and heaters below it. But there's actually no steam penetration to the load at that point. So avoiding that ineffective air release is what's going to allow us to maintain and achieve a 100% steam atmosphere inside of the unit. Also, if you are reusing water and it's recycled, that goes back into your autoclave, so you use water that's in the bottom and then it comes back in, all of the materials that could have boiled out of your liquids boil right into that water. They stick onto the heating elements. Then we've created an area where it's going to create burning, and then your heating elements are going to burn out as well. So not only is it inefficient, it's also fairly dirty, and it's also not a very good way to maintain an autoclave for a long period of time, as you will be replacing those heating elements at some point. So instrument sterilization, we'll go through the different types of sterilization that we offer now as far as the different cycles are concerned. Some of this slide is a little bit complex, but I will explain each one of these sections. And so I know you folks at home are probably sitting a little bit closer to your screen, so it's a little bit easier to see. So accurate, reproducible, and validatable sterilization and drying after sterilization. So instrument sterilization, much different than liquid sterilization. Liquid is its own sterilizing agent, so we only need it to achieve 121. We're not as interested in steam penetration at that point because we are actually just achieving 121 for that. However, steam penetration is the absolute most important thing with instrument or waste sterilization. So in the diagram that you would see on the right with the different colors of those represent tubes. And so what we would do when we start a sterilization cycle is we will begin a pre-vacuum cycle. So it will vacuum air out of the system, and then we're going to do a steam inlet. So we'll do 3 of those, and the diagram there shows you how we are able to achieve complete steam penetration even through hollow items after those 3 pre-vacuum cycles and steam pulses. So once we've achieved the 3rd pre-vacuum and steam pulse, then we're going to have a complete steam environment inside of the unit. Excuse me. We will also, inside of the system, measure the temperature and the pressure in this instrument all the way at the bottom where the air release is located. So during that pre-vacuum, we will be achieving different vacuum levels, and the unit will have to achieve those before it's able to pass on to the next segment of the cycle. So instead of having a temperature or just the autoclave reaching 121, not only are we reaching 121, we're reaching it at the exact point where physically it has to be 121 and the pressure has to be correct in order to verify that the entire vessel is full of steam. So at the top left, you'll see a diagram here of some, if you look at the items on the chart on this graph, there are different vessels that we've placed inside of the unit. And because different items are going to achieve temperature at different times. And so those pulses that you see are vacuum pulses with steam inlets into the unit. So you'll see when we first begin that we have quite an array of where all the temperatures are across the board for all of these different items. Once we've achieved that 3rd vacuum pulse and then the next steam pulse when we go to sterilization, what you will see is all of those lines are completely congruent at that point. So we're not going to actually have any differential at that point. Even if we have a 10-liter vessel, a 1-liter vessel, pipette tips, by the time that we've pulled all of these vacuum cycles, we're going to be able to achieve complete sterilization. So after that sterilization cycle is run and we've achieved 121 for 15, 20 minutes, whichever we have done, we cool down, then we will run through a drying phase. So the drying is an optional phase, but if you do have the super dry option, we will run steam through coils that are located on the outside of the vessel. So again, you have a really clean vessel inside, but we will run that steam through those cooling coils as well as pull a vacuum. What that's going to do for us is completely dry everything in the system. So you can imagine, and I'm sure most of the folks on here have seen pipette tip boxes that come out that look like this, completely wet. And how are we going to keep that sterile without putting that in a hood and allowing it to dry overnight, however long, before we're actually able to use those pipette tips? With our super dry option, we're going to be able to completely dry that. Once the cycle is done, we can have the lid automatically open. Then you can come and remove the contents when you see fit. So that's how we would approach instrument sterilization. Waste sterilization is going to be very similar as well, but we have different things that we have to worry about. So with conventional waste sterilization, again, we have water inside of the unit that it's going to heat up. We also know that we have some water components inside of the bag as well. But when we start heating that, all that it actually does if we don't pull a pre-vacuum is actually compress the air into the bag. So if you were to put a biological indicator directly in the center of one of those waste bags that you're putting into your autoclave, or taping that waste bag up, which I see folks do all the time, so they tape the bag up and stick it down into the autoclave, there's absolutely no way that we can get steam penetration into the unit if all we've done is completely sealed the bag. So it will, at that point, start creating some steam from the heaters inside of the unit. It's going to then compress all of the air into the bag, so we have a nice little pocket for things to continue to grow inside of that waste bag. Now, with the Systec fractionated and pulsed pre-vacuum, what we're going to do is we're going to pull that vacuum before the cycle starts. We're going to run it very similar to the instrument sterilization, and we're going to be able to pull and achieve the exact type of steam penetration that we want to that bag. In this diagram, what you will see is the differences in levels of where the chamber temperature is, the bag top, and the bag bottom. So you can see exactly what we're actually achieving through these pulses. And we ran multiple temperature probes directly down into the bag, and then you'll see after our third pulse, we're completely, the top, bottom of the bag and the middle are the exact same. So that way we can know that we have achieved complete sterilization. So if you look on the efficiency of conventional versus a Systec sterilization process, these are tests that we ran ourselves. So you can see with Systec fractionated and pulsed heat up phase, we have completely eliminated all of our biological indicators. They are completely negative. Whereas with the conventional heat up, even in the top of the bag, the middle, or the bottom, we're still not going to actually achieve complete sterilization. Now, in practice, what you would see is if you're using heating elements and you have some liquid in the bag and you're using a conventional heating, what it will do is it's going to boil some of that water, so it's going to create some of its own steam. So the place that you really have to worry about is actually the steam comes in a little bit at the top, it comes a little bit from the bottom, and sandwiches air into the middle of that waste bag. So that was the area that is actually the most difficult in order to get your biological indicators to pass. So again, the same options that we would have on waste sterilization are going to be very similar to the instrument sterilization in order to be able to get that complete steam environment inside of the system. Okay, liquid sterilization. Liquid sterilization is what most folks, probably all of us, do. So we offer something which is a flexible PT100 temperature probe. So we do direct temperature monitoring inside of a reference vessel. So any other autoclave, you're probably putting things in, and once the autoclave reaches 121, we know we have a pretty big lag phase in order for us to get the liquids to 121. So it's normally kind of guesswork. You say, I should sterilize for 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes will actually do the trick, that I'm actually going to achieve 121. Not only are we going to monitor that temperature to 121, we're also going to be able to cool everything down in a very controlled fashion with several different cooling options that we have that are going to allow us to cool this down with no liquid loss. One of the first ones that we offer is kind of displayed there on the right-hand side, which is a cooling option that is going to have cooling coils wrapped around the vessel itself. So we'll run cooling water through that. We also have the ability to fan that internal atmosphere that's going to allow us to even use less water to cool. Then we also have an ultra cool option as well. Again, no liquid loss at this point. We also maintained our temperature at 121 with a flexible PT100 temperature probe. Then we cooled it down to 80 degrees prior to allowing the end user to have any access. This allows us to make sure that we have a very safe process. No operator is going to come into contact with superheated or boiling liquids, which can cause a lot of injury in laboratories. I'm sure that it's happened in a lot of you folks' laboratories over the years, that at some point someone has access to an autoclave, touches a bottle, you add that bit of energy to it, and then you get explosive boiling. And if you've ever put protein-laden hot items, boiling items on your skin, it's not very fun. So we completely avoid that. And at this point, you can't program it to be any less than 80 or any more than 80 degrees. So that way, not only are we maintaining and having correct sterilization of our liquids, we're also making sure that we're going to keep all of our operators safe as well. So in conventional systems, again, it's slow attainment of the sterilization temperature. The only cooling is evaporative cooling. So what it will do at that point is it's going to boil over and will evaporate, and you're going to have heavy liquid loss in that, and you're also going to create a very dirty vessel, and which will cause service issues, as we mentioned before. So that is our process for liquid sterilization. Now we'll go through a few of our cooling options. So we have several different levels of cooling options to maximize the cooling capability of the system. Level 1 is what we call just our cooling with compressed air. So the cooling with support air pressure, what we would do at that point is at the end of sterilization, we are going to inject sterile compressed air into the unit to push the steam out of the system. So that way we've removed the heating agent at that point, but we've maintained the pressure the way that it should be so the liquids won't boil over. So as we've done that, then we run the cooling coils. The cooling coils will radiate to the vessel, cools down to 80 degrees, then we will release the air pressure that we put in and allow the user to access the system. The level 2 would be a radial ventilator, so we can place a fan inside of the instrument that will fan that environment inside. So instead of just radiation of the cooling water to the bottles, we can fan the system inside as well, so we get 50% more efficiency and use a lot less water. We can also, in that radial ventilator, we can put an additional heat exchanger inside of there. That additional heat exchanger will even increase our efficiency even further, again using less water. So the radial ventilator and the ultra-cool are actually fairly inexpensive options that will pay for themselves very quickly because just in use of tap water alone. Then for some other special applications, we do offer support air pressure and spray cooling, which is in essence a shower inside of the autoclave that is going to cool all of our vessels rapidly. That is an extremely fast way for cooling. It is used for quite often sealed containers, IV bags, those different types of applications. Generally, when you have open bottles, obviously no one's going to have something spraying inside of their autoclave. So this is the one that's going to be a slightly different and for, again, specialized applications. So additional options and features that we have, we do offer USP glass testing, so a very specific glass test parameter that we have complete control over the process of this, so we can actually achieve that USP glass testing, which is a very specific programming system. Materials testing with the increase of pressure and temperature, and automated cycle repetition. So we can change sterilization up to days, and we can run multiple cycles as well. So we can run this up to 99 days per cycle, and also have that repeat, I think 99 times as well. So in essence, you can hit start and sterilize for years. We have the steam air mixture for IV bags and sealed containers such as blister packs. Specific fermenter programs with our HX system, so if you're using a full fermenter, we have a specific program for that. The 21 CFR compliance with the HX series. No PC is required for documentation. Everything is secure on a Linux-based system that is operated through the touchscreen of the autoclave. So you can have a network cable into the unit. It can send files directly to your network at the end of the cycle, but everything can be handled by an operator directly on the screen with signatures as well. So you can have counter signatures, so you can require as many signatures as you want on that document. Exhaust filtration for those BSL-3 applications, multiple loading trays, racks, and trolleys that can be as accessories for the instrument as well. So our website for additional information is 800easymicro.com. All of our details are there on the website. All of the different models, different loading capacities. You can find that there. So now what we're going to do is switch back to our live camera and go in and look at the different instruments that we have here today. So we're going to start with our HX series systems. This HX series that we have here is the HX320. So this is a very common size, as we mentioned, that the 250 liter size is very popular. Because our system has a cylindrical chamber inside of it, our loading capacity is quite different. But what we offer is just that single vessel inside of here, not a jacketed system, that allows us to really have that efficiency that we were talking about. Your gaskets are here. The doors are all left hinged. They can be ordered right hinged if necessary. But to close any of these instruments, you just simply press the door in place and it will close for you. There are switches around the circumference of the door. What those will do for us is once the locking ring closes, it will confirm that everything is in harmony, so we have a really nice tight seal inside of the unit. It seals the same way and opens the same way every single time. The benefit of that is not having a crank on the outside of the door where different people are cranking it closed differently. What that's going to do for us is it's going to ruin the gasket. Someone might leave it open too far, then we're going to have issues with steam outlet from the gasket inside. So here's our flexible temperature probe in the unit. This is a standard feature. You can zoom into that there. So we can use a reference vessel. So you could either use one of your product vessels that you have, which I've kind of displayed here, or what you can do is have a reference vessel of water. That would need to be the same volume as whatever the bottle is that you're working with, as well as be roughly in the center of the instrument, because that's the one that is going to heat the slowest and also cool the slowest. So we have multiple, again, we have multiple baskets and different options for these instruments. So I'm just going to take these out, set that up there. So we do have loading trays for this instrument. So this one I just have a basket in here, but we also do offer loading trays that would allow us to come right up and then load directly into the system. So it would lock into place and then just go directly back into the unit. And what you can see in here is a really nice clean vessel, no heating elements or anything inside. So a really nice system, really clean, and able to do several different types of applications. Just going to throw these back in here. So as we mentioned, the HX series has a touchscreen control. So all of the control systems can be accessed directly here. So a really easy system. We can go to program. We can look at the different programs that we offer. Every instrument that we have is going to be a layout of programs of instruments, waste bags, liquid waste, liquids, and then a cleaning cycle. On the HX series instruments, we can enter up to 99 different programs. So if you did have a different type of waste bags that you wanted or multiple liquid cycles, we can program those in so you can just access those. All of them can be individually named. They're also password secure as well. So if I wanted to change something, it's going to ask me for a username and a password before I can prompt and go forward to access that information. Once I've entered that information, I can go to the different parameters inside of here. First would be sterilization temperature. If I just go to the pencil, I can tell it what temperature that I want that to be and just hit save. So I can save that for each individual parameter. With other access codes, I entered an admin code there. I have access, as you can see at the top right here, I have access to 30 parameters that I can change with that administration code. We can lock that down to where we have just a user password. That user may only be able to access 3 or 4 different parameters. Or they may be able to start a cycle, but they would not be able to change any of the parameters. So those are all, I can go to my user menu as well and go to my user list. I have to enter a password again. And now I have my different operators, and I can add other operators as well. This also has the ability to have an audit trail, so any programming or any pressing of any keys is completely stored and downloadable to the end user. Okay, we're going to go next just to look at the other models that we offer. We're going to switch over and just show the V-Series. Now the V-Series is going to be, this is a 95-liter instrument. So just to give you an idea of kind of how large the unit is. We won't go to the keypad on this one because it's a little bit difficult to see. We have baskets inside of here, so this is just, just simple top loading. I can remove baskets from the instrument. We also have the ability to add lifts to this unit, so we can put a lift on the side of the instrument as well, so it can attach to these baskets and then just pull them out for us and then lower them to the floor or any type of loading cart that you want. As we had mentioned about the flexible PT100 is located here. As we had mentioned before with the automated door closing, all I need to do is press the door down. It will pull a slight vacuum. Once the vacuum has reached a certain level, it's going to seal that door for me, and now the door is sealed into position. So each and every time that I close the instrument, it's going to seal the exact same way. So this will do a pressure release at this point once that's finished. And then if I wanted to open the instrument again, simply just go over, hit open, It's going to give us an alert and then just open the door. So that's simple to open and close the instrument. Now I can also make that happen automatically. So if you do have items inside of there that are liquids that you don't mind cooling down to, potentially solidifying media, or any instruments that you just have utensils in there, something that you've been using in the laboratory, I can program this door to open automatically. So once the cycle is completed, the door would just open up, it would vent, you can come and unload the items when you want. So there may be a little bit of steam in here. If someone wears glasses, they don't have to worry about that. They can just have the instrument open directly. Okay. So the V and D series autoclaves, we'll switch to the D series now. With the D series autoclaves, they would basically have the exact same programming, and then the V series, just the vessel standing upright. On the D series, the vessel is just linear. This is a DX65, so this is one of our smaller instruments. We go all the way up to 200 liters with the benchtop units. We have one size smaller than this, which is the 45. Again, very similar orientation, very similar look to the HX series. With the keypad on this instrument, we don't offer the capability to do 21 CFR compliance. A lot of the specific programming for username and passwords isn't on here. We have standard passwords for this instrument, so you would just have to determine which level of password you want to get each individual operator, but there are not unique passwords for these systems. Just try to unload this without dropping all of these bottles. That would be fun. So our flexible PT100 is here. We're going to do quite a bit of things here on this instrument because it's fairly easy to see. Base plate can be removable. Inside of the instrument, you will see there's a drain area right directly inside. So this is where your drain would be. That's also our air release. So when we're actually running a cycle, whether it's instruments or waste, remember we had said that for liquid cycles, we're going to use our flexible PT100 probe. There is also a PT100 probe directly in this drain line, which is the area where the air will be evacuated from the instrument. So we will be measuring pressure and temperature at this drain line for all instruments and waste cycles. That way we know the rest of the autoclave is completely full of steam. Because once we achieve that here, then we know we don't have any air pockets inside of the unit. We have steam inlet directly at the top, so the steam will come in. It is a shielded steam vent. So what it will do is it's going to run in and it's going to run circular until the instrument is completely full of steam and start pressing out the air inside of the unit. The reason that we do it that way is in case you have anything that could be potentially affected by having steam directly sprayed on it when it is more like room temperature. We don't want to heat it too fast. We do have that shielded steam vent that's just going to run that around. So we have a probe directly in the back that is going to indicate whether we have any moisture or any water inside of the instrument. So if a cycle does fail because of power or something like that during the cycle, it would indicate that to us so we don't ever are able to open the door to have all the water flow out onto us. So the cooling coils that we offer are going to be on the outside of this vessel. So they'll be completely, so your vessel is going to be really nice and clean with those cooling coils wrapped directly around. Now those cooling coils are not completely circular because we gain a lot more efficiency by having them flat to the vessel themselves. So they're rounded on the outside but flat to the vessel. So that way they have more surface area to contact the vessel. We flow those cooling coils through here, monitoring the temperature with our flexible PT100, and then we would actually put a radial ventilator. We'll go to the next stage and I'll show you one of those in our other system. I'm also going to go through and look at this locking ring and show you how that works. So I'm going to go into a manual mode. So now I can manually do, this is a service code by the way, so you would not be able to do this. So the way the door ring works, so that is that locking ring that you see that has just come out here. It would seal directly around the outside of the door. So it's going to seal around this door here and lock that into position. So this ring has to have power in order to open. In its steady state, which it has no power, is when it is closed. So losing power is not going to affect opening and closing. You have to have power in order to open the door. And the amount of pressure that this will actually requires is roughly 8 kPa, which is less than 2 psi. So that is the maximum amount of pressure that can be inside of the instrument at any given point, and that will allow that ring to open. Just set that read back. Okay. Now we'll go through a little bit of the programming here, which is different than what is going to be on the HX series. Very similar layouts to cycles, but again with the keypad and not the touchscreen, there are a few less items that we have access to. So if you go to our menu for this instrument, this has a different cycle layout. So as standard, it will have 12 different cycles. So you're going to have 3 instrument cycles. You will then have 2 waste bag cycles, 2 liquid waste, and then 4 liquid cycles, and then finally a cleaning cycle. So we do have an automated cleaning cycle inside of all of our units that we do recommend running weekly or bi-weekly, depending upon how much use the instrument is going to get. And it is pre-programmed. It goes to a higher temperature and pressure than any of the other cycles that we have. The other cycles are going to be more process driven, whereas this is driven to actually not only clean the autoclave, but flush any of the valves inside of the unit. So the programming on this, once we would select a cycle, would be simply go into the cycle, hit set, and if I wanted to program it, I just hit change parameters. It's going to ask me for a user code in order to do that. I have 3 different user codes. 1000 is the most basic, so if I hit that, it allows me to change 3 parameters. I can change the drying time, the sterilization temperature, and the duration of the sterilization time. The more parameters that I want to access, I can enter different codes inside of there that gives me more access to the different parameters for the instrument. So the last instrument that we're going to go through is we're going to take a look at the HX double door model. So it's a little bit difficult to see, but there is a secondary door on the back of this one. So if we look at the side of this instrument, I actually have all the machine of it over here with an additional door right behind me. So this would be the wall of our laboratory. So in your clean room or in your pathogen suite, this is all you would see. This is the only portion that you would see, and then this would be your laboratory wall. So then all the machine side is going to be on the other side. So for any of our service technicians, when we arrive at your location, we will not need to access your clean room, probably won't need to access your pathogen laboratory unless there's something specific to this door mechanism that is causing us an issue. Otherwise, we can access all the machine parts of the system through the other side. So that's pretty convenient for servicing. These are very easy to integrate. Not a ton of utilities are required. Once you have the hole cut correctly, the instrument just wheels in. We seal both sides of the instrument, and then you have an ability to smoke test the laboratory and get it up and running. So the radial ventilator in this unit is setting all the way at the back. It's on the back door of the instrument, so I'd just like to get zoomed into that to show you. So that is a radial ventilator option as well. So that fan, in conjunction with these cooling coils that are on the outside, is going to reduce my my cooling time by 50%, just by making sure that we fan all of the air inside of here and able to achieve that 80 degrees C that we want to get to for any of our liquids. So this is the way that the double door systems are manufactured, depending upon the way that you are going to run your laboratory. So if you are in a pathogen lab and you want to make sure that I'm working on this side, so this would be my dirty side in essence, my laboratory side would be my dirty side. Once I open this door, I am not able to open the other door until I've ran a complete cycle. So that way you wouldn't be able to compromise your laboratory. If we're running it in a clean room, it works the opposite way. So once the outer door has been opened, I'm not going to be able to open this door until I've ran a cycle. So that way I can't compromise my clean room in, and I can't compromise my ante-room on the way out if I'm in a pathogen laboratory. And those are door modes that we program into the system that will allow us to make sure that no one actually makes a mistake, opens the door at the wrong time. If you think people are going to make a mistake anyway, we can program it such that once any door is open, you have to run a cycle before you can open any other door again. So we do offer multiple options for that, and that can be programmed and done at the time of installation. So at this point, I have my colleague Sam that is been looking at questions. Hopefully we've had some questions come up for us today. I'll entertain any of those right now. I really appreciate everyone's time. And Sam, do we have any?
We do have a few.
Okay.
Let's see here. So for facility requirements, what's required to run the autoclave and such, like things like that?
Okay. Probably the easiest way for me to do this is I'm just going to turn one of these instruments around, and we'll just go through that quickly. Zoom in there to the bottom. So as far as utilities are concerned, we need power. So these instruments run on 220 volt power for the most part. Some of our smaller instruments run on a 220 single phase. Most of them run on 220 three phase. It only requires one power attachment. Many other systems are going to require a 110 volt for the operating controls, and then 230 or 220 for your steam generator. We run it off of just one single source of power. So that would be the power requirement. Then the next one we're going to have here is we do need a drain. So the instrument is going to need to drain. We have a compressed air requirement. Depending upon the type of applications that you're running, the compressed air would be for liquids. So that cooling with compressed air, that is where that would plug into the unit. If you do not have compressed air in your facility, we do offer a silent 50 compressor that can set just on the autoclave. It can set right underneath on our table here. It can set right beside. It's very silent. What it will allow us to do is run and give us that compressed air capability. Next thing we have is a demineralized water. If you do not have hard-fed demineralized water, we also offer a demineralization system that we can also run directly with the unit. They're both very small. They would set even under this 65. They would set right there and just operate straight away. So the demineralization system would just plug into your tap water, and then so we would just run two different tap. We would plug right into the tap water. Tap water is going to be used for cooling. Then in this case, we would run it to our demineralization system and then run it to the demineralized water for that. So those are the requirements. You would have demineralized water, tap water, a drain, compressed air, and then your power requirement as well.
All right. Let's see. Next one. In addition to CFR compliance and audit trail, do you offer qualifications such as IQ and OQ and PQ?
We do. So our service team offers complete IQ, OQ, and PQ services. The IQ, OQ is a standard package that would be for the installation and operational qualification of the system. We do tailor-make PQ services depending upon your application. We do these quite often with pharma companies or with any companies that are doing glass testing that have to be a very specific requirement to meet for their different cycles. We write all of that documentation and work collaboratively with you to make sure we achieve exactly what you want to do, and then we'll do the performance qualification at the time of installation as well.
All right. Next would be service. Is that recommended yearly or as needed?
We do recommend having at least a PM every year. Now, I know customers have purchased our units from us and have used them for 5 or 6 years and never had us to come see them, which is good because the instrument is still working. However, we do recommend if you're going to invest in a system to make sure that you get at least a yearly PM. We can do not only the preventive maintenance on site, but again, calibrate all of the temperature probes to NIST traceable standards. when you receive the instrument, it will have a full 1-year warranty with all pressure transducers and probes, temperature probes, calibrated to NIST traceable standards, which again, we can redo that for you on site.
All right, and then assuming yearly maintenance schedule, what would you say that the average lifespan of a unit is?
I still have units that we sold originally, so every autoclave vessel that we're going to look at should be qualified for 15 years. So that is the operational standard for the industry, is 15 years on a vessel. However, we know that they're going to operate a lot longer than that. There are no parts on any of our autoclaves that have planned obsolescence. So basically, we have units that we sold the first year that we sold Systec instruments that are still in operation that we actively service. So that 15-year mark, easily we could achieve 20, 25 years with one of these systems.
Great. Let's see, we just had another one come in for that benchtop autoclave. What is the capacity of that one? I guess the one behind you.
This is a 65.
You have the ability to put,
this is a
shelves.
65-liter unit. I don't have the exact idea, but on our website at 800easymicro.com, if you go to the D series, go to Autoclaves, go to D series, you will be able to see the exact loading capacities for Erlenmeyer flask and shot bottles inside of the unit. So I unplugged that one, but we had several 1-liter bottles there inside of the instrument. So I believe the highest capacity bottle we can put in here, we can fit a 5-liter inside of this unit, but you'll be able to see the exact number of bottles there directly on our website in the little mosaic that we have there underneath the instrument titles.
All right, and shelving units are available with those?
We do offer shelving units. What they would actually look like, let's go over to this instrument here. We don't add multiple shelves into the instrument because they're not very flexible, because then we just have a fixed shelf inside of the unit. So we have complete loading trays and racks inside of here. So I have basically a whole structure where I can remove individual trays inside of here. So if I have larger bottles one time, smaller bottles, or if I have small items that I want to put in there, then I can fill up every single shelf that I have inside of the unit, or just remove that entire that shelving unit completely, and then just go with the base plate. So you can do either one of them, but we find that those loading trays or loading carriages with trays are quite nice, because even in a smaller unit like the D series system, if you don't have a ton of capacity but you have the ability to add everything into the unit and have multiple layers inside, you can sometimes get away with a smaller vessel system just because of our loading capacity is very flexible.
All right, looks like we got another one. Aside from the media and the water that you spoke about for liquids, sterilizing liquids in the chambers, are you able to sterilize other liquids such as milk?
Yes, we do offer, we've just recently done this, so we do offer pasteurization cycles. The way that works, though, is quite a bit different than just sterilization, because we don't want to achieve 121. We probably only want to go to 90 degrees C or something like that for a briefer period of time. What that is called is a steam-air mixture. So in a steam-air mixture application, what we're going to do, because we know if we have air inside of the unit and steam, we know exactly what's going to happen based upon the previous presentation. Air is going to be separated from the steam inside. We don't want that to be the case. So we would have to have a radial ventilator inside of it. We're going to have some sterile compressed air. So it's only going to be the sterile compressed air that we push into the system, along with some steam that is going to come from the steam generator. Then we fan the environment to make sure that we have a complete homogeneous mixture, and that's going to allow us to achieve that 90 degrees that you may want to achieve for the specific period of time. I can also do sealed containers with that. I have a flavoring company that we work with quite extensively, and they work closely with Starbucks, and so they want to be able to autoclave those sealed cans of Starbucks coffees, which we do for them all the time. So if you have any of those type of pasteurization sort of applications, then for sure that we can do that.
All right, then along those lines, if a customer has say a unique instrument or some unique application, are they able to send that to you to test out before purchasing?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. For the number of applications, because these systems are manufactured in Germany by a company that has been in business roughly the same amount of time that we have, I think in the early mid-90s is when they went into business. We have a huge bank of requirements and different applications that we've used for all kinds of other customers. So we could definitely test it for you, but the odds of us never seeing it before are pretty rare. So I would say that we could probably, between us and our counterparts in Germany, we'd probably be able to give you a lot of good recommendations. But then for sure, we've always tested products either in Germany or here in some of our test autoclaves.
Great. Well, that's all that I have.
Okay. Well, I really appreciate everyone's time again. Please feel free to reach out to us at any time. You can reach us at info on our website. Just again, 800easymicro.com. Feel free to give us a call here. Our phone number is the same as our website, which is 1-800-396-4276 is what that number is, which is 800 Easy Micro. Again, appreciate your time and look forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you.